Hi, this is Chris, and I decided to make a video on everything that I was trying to talk to you guys about last week during Epics about how to make buttons interact with code to make it so that things are displayed or not displayed on screen, since I wasn't really able to show you guys that last time. And since I'm not going to be able to be at Epics this Friday. So, as you see, I'm inside Unity right now, and I know I talked to my group about all the different elements of Unity, but I feel like I should probably take the time to talk about the other ones, all of the elements real quick, just in case somebody not from my group is here listening to this video. So on the left side of the screen are all of the objects that are currently in the scene right now. Now the way that objects work within Unity is that um, those are all of the different things that Unity processes while the game's running. So obviously we have the player, which is this guy right here, we have the ground, and a few other things other than the main camera. And so when Unity is processing all of these things, it goes through, looks at each object, and if it has a script, code, it'll run its script when needed and perform different actions. So a script can be one of the components of an object. But on the right side of the screen, we have all of the components that are part of the player object. Every single object in Unity has some form of a transform, which keeps track of the object in the 3D, or in our case 2D space of Unity. As you can see, everything's actually in 3D space in Unity, but you can make it so that it's displayed in 2D when we're working in it. So altering the X, Y, Z components, scale, rotation of each of these objects within the code portion of Unity, you're able to change the size and position within the 2D and 3D space. Sprite renderer is another component for a player, and this just controls the actual sprite. And then a script that controls all of the back-end things like moving and updating the position of the player within Unity. So, in our case, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a button that will display a panel on screen and then take it off screen when clicked again. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to our object hierarchy side, right click, and then go into user interface and create a canvas. Now this canvas, as you can see, it's very large, it's going off screen right now, is where you're able to display all of the user interface elements. You cannot display a user interface element without a canvas when working within the scene editor, which is where we're going to be working. You are able to hard code or write code that makes things like parts of the GUI or the user interface displayed within code, but for example purposes, this is a lot easier because you're able to see the objects be displayed in scene as we make it. So as we see, Canvas itself has a transform, and then a bunch of different components that are specific to Canvas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename the canvas to UI main canvas, and then go down to the first component called canvas. And right here it determines how the canvas is displayed within the 3D space of Unity, where it is. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to actually make it so that we click screen space camera, and this will make it so that when we select a camera for the canvas, it'll automatically snap to the size of the camera and will only display the canvas within that camera, which is very convenient for us, since the camera has been coded to always follow the player. So we don't need to worry about the canvas not being where the player is. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on main canvas, and one of the parameters for the component canvas is a render camera. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take main camera and we're going to drag it in, and that way the canvas always knows where the camera is, and we can see that the canvas actually snapped to the size of the camera. So now if we play the game in a little bit, when we have things on the canvas, the objects that we put within the canvas will always be displayed. So now that we've done that, we're going to right click on UI main canvas, UI, and we're going to make a button. And we can see that the button appeared on screen within the canvas, the center of the canvas, and I'm going to resize it and I'm going to move it down here. And I'm going to go to the rect transform of the button and click the bottom right of this square. What this does is it anchors the button to the bottom right of this canvas, meaning that if the size of the canvas or the camera were to resize, the button will always stay in the position of the bottom right of the canvas. I'm going to rename the button phone button. And we can see here that the different components of the button are the rect transform. We can have an image on it, kind of like a sprite, and then the actual interactions of the button. And so right here, it's self-explanatory for how this works is that the normal color of the button we can set to be blue. When hovering over the button, or the highlighted color, we can make it so it changes to that color. And then when pressed, we can make it so that it can change to that color there. And to demonstrate this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save real quick, and I'm going to play. You can see that the button is a different color. When I hover over the button, it is a teal color, and when I click it, it changes to that rose color. But currently when we click it, the button doesn't do anything, so that's what we're going to do next. Also, something worth noting is that when I created the button, I made sure that I created it underneath or within the tab of the main canvas. This means it is parented to the main canvas. It's a child. Yeah, so it's a child of the main canvas. So whenever something happens to the main canvas, it'll be sure to make it so that it'll happen to the button also, which is nice. Plus, you need a canvas for a UI element to be within, to be displayed. Now, our next step is we're going to make a right-click on UI main canvas again, go to UI, do panel. We're going to create a panel. Another thing worth noting is that you can always make a game object from up here, going to game object and selecting the type of object that you want. So in our case, we just did UI and then panel, just to do that. But I like right-clicking because it's a little faster. And then we're going to rename this panel phone panel. And this is going to be the panel where we decide to display the image of the phone when we pull it up. Now I'm going to anchor this to the bottom part of the canvas, and then I'm going to resize the panel. And then I'm actually going to move it off screen. Now the way that we're going to do this is that, or program this, is that when we click the button, we're going to have it so that the panel moves its position onto the camera. So technically the panel is never gone. It's always there, it's just we can't see it. It's off screen. So we're just going to be moving the panel from on screen to off screen, on screen, off screen. Cool. So now we have our panel. We have to write a script or a code to make it so that when this button is clicked, it'll change the position of this of the panel. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to go down to our assets, and I'm going to create a new folder. And I'll call this UI elements. Within this folder, whenever we create a script or if we use an image, we can always store it in here and keep everything organized. So I'm going to go into that folder, and then I'm going to click on UI main canvas and add a component to UI main canvas. And scroll down, and at the bottom it should say new script. I'm going to add a new script, and I'm going to call this UI behavior.